Welcome to Season 2 of the Coach Pony podcast, where our goal is to help you learn the critical business skills that you need to succeed as a coach. In this season, we are exploring many of the different ways coaches can make money and taking an honest look at the money math behind each business model. In the last episode of the podcast, we talked about the gritty details behind the do-it-yourself online course model. And in this episode, I'll share the inside story of how I got paid $7,000 to build my first truly real online course from a random idea, plus the big mistake I made almost immediately. So with that, let's get down to business. I have so many online course stories for you guys. In fact, my book, the book I wrote way back in the day called Zero to Passion, was my first real online do-it-yourself program because I offered several different tiers of learning beyond just a book. And if you're curious, you can check it out at zerotopassion.com. I still sell plenty of them today. But I'll share that story for another time because in this episode, I want to talk about my second online course, which is a pure do-it-yourself offering. It was something I created that I called the Networking Masterclass, and I created it for the Revolutionary Club because I knew that networking was a huge key skill related to building a career and finding your passion. And I wanted to test and see if my audience also understood that. And if they truly wanted more networking help, I thought this would be a wonderful way to help serve my community and add a do-it-yourself course to my arsenal. Now, it was a little bit of a random idea to build a do-it-yourself course on networking because let's face it, networking is a really personal skill. But I felt like I could teach the critical basics in that format. I did feel like I could deliver it online. So I wanted to see if I was right. The question I had to answer, of course, was, would my community agree with me? Did they want networking help of any kind? And the second question I had to answer was, did they want somewhat impersonal networking help delivered online? And there was no easy way for me to really ascertain that except by making a wild guess. So I really needed to find out before I spent a lot of time and effort building a program. To test my idea and to do that, I decided to offer a paid webinar to my community, which I called the Networking Masterclass. And what I did to test was a little bit interesting and different for me. Instead of setting a price for it, I offered a pay what you can afford rate with a recommended price of $59. But people could adjust that. They could pay whatever they could afford with a minimum of $5. I needed to have them be able to pay something because of credit card fees and the time involved in pulling together the training. Now, I should be a little bit transparent here. At this point in my business in the Revolutionary Club, I'd been in business for a few years. It was maybe 2014, perhaps 2015. It's a little foggy at this stage in the game. And I already had a few thousand people on my email list. And therefore, I knew I would get some sort of response. But I honestly wasn't sure if it would be a good one. So I did the barest minimum amount of effort to test this idea for an online program. And what I mean by that, truly, you cannot get more lazy than I was. I created a very simple outline of the program describing the key topics I would cover in the webinar. I pulled together an extremely basic checkout page. I didn't even pull together a sales page, just a checkout page. And I sent a few emails talking about the power of networking and educating people on why it was really important to their careers. And in those emails, I started to mention that there would be a coming offer, that the Networking Masterclass was coming. Now, again, super lazy here. I did not even bother to create the webinar beyond the outline. Now, I am pretty comfortable as a teacher and facilitator, so this worked for me. You may be a little bit less comfortable, but I was able to sort of flesh out the key teaching topics and be fine. The reason I did this is because I wanted to wait and see if anyone actually wanted to buy it before I spent hours building it. So what happened? Well, you've already seen the title of this podcast, so you know it turned out to be good news. Woohoo! Once I alerted my community that the Networking Masterclass was open for enrollment at the pay what you can afford price, I was proved happily correct. People did want this training. They did sign up. So that's how I got paid to build it. I actually made $7,000 just from my emails announcing the program. And since people could pay as little as $5 for it, I honestly wasn't expecting to make very much money. I just wanted to see if people would pay anything. And yes, they would. Most people paid between $20 and $30. And with that cash in hand, I knew I had a viable product. So my next step was to create the webinar and build the slide deck, which definitely took some time, and to make sure I got it as polished as I could. And then I delivered it. And once I delivered it, I sent some information out to everyone asking for some feedback. And of course, I also made my own notes about what else I wanted to include based on their questions from this live webinar. It's always great to do an online program live first, so you can see where people get stuck and what questions they have, and then you can incorporate that into the course. Then I set about creating all of the bells and whistles of a truly do-it-yourself online evergreen program, including a private portal that was password protected that my developer built, a lovely professional training video series where I introduced each component of the program as a talking head on video, and then we went over and I did a keynote presentation on slides. I used professionally designed slides and worksheets created by my designer, and I also added 4 additional bonus trainings based on some of the questions that had come up during the live webinar, where I fleshed out 4 additional topics that I thought would be interesting to people to make the program a little bit more enticing. I offered this new version of the Networking Masterclass for $197. It had no live component at all. It was just this online program that you logged in and you watched the videos and you did the worksheets. And it sold really, really well for the first few days. Amazingly well. Like sales were just coming in. I was feeling very smug. And then crickets. The cart was open for maybe 5 or 6 days. In the middle of it, no one bought. Not a single sale in the middle few days of the cart being opened. And sales only picked up again towards the very end. I had never seen this before. And I was a little bit panicky. I finished the launch only making around $15,000 when I was expecting to make much closer to $30,000 to $40,000 based on who had bought before. So let's be frank, I was flabbergasted. It was not a good look on me. And as you can imagine, I was also pretty dismayed. I thought I had had a winner. I tested it. People loved it. What had happened? So here's what had happened. I realized I made a mistake with this money path because I hadn't set up a strong enough sales funnel to generate ongoing income. I had been super smug about how popular that first webinar was, and when it came time to sell the full course, I got a little bit lazy. Here's what I did wrong. I forgot to explain in the lead up to the launch of the full program why networking was so important. I didn't educate people on why networking was a necessary skill to finding your passion or to finding that next great job, and also to providing you a career safety net before I opened the cart and tried to sell the program. And that is sales 101. People need to know that they have a problem and want help with it before they're willing to pay you money to solve that problem. Ugh, it was not a good moment. So cart closed. I sat down and felt pretty terrible about myself for a little bit. And then I went through everything again and realized, okay, the problem isn't the program. It's not that people don't want this. It's that I didn't communicate it and explain to them why it was going to be so powerful to help them find work they loved. But there was good news for me in all of this. Woohoo! Because this program was designed to be evergreen. It's an online program. So I could sell it again whenever I wanted. It wasn't just like once a year. I could do this as many times as I wanted. And I still felt like a little bit of an idiot for being so lazy and missing such an obvious thing. But at least I had the comfort of knowing, okay, that was my first rodeo. I could do this again. Now, it was cold comfort, I'm not going to lie. But sometimes as an entrepreneur, you've got to hold on to the small things because let's face it, you are going to fail at something. That's just part of being an entrepreneur and why I'm sharing these stories. So get used to it, get comfortable with it, figure out what you can learn, and then move on. And that's what I did. Over the next few months, I tinkered with the Networking Masterclass and I played with how I was marketing and offering the program. And I designed a few different sales funnels for it. So instead of just sending some emails and then opening cart, I designed a whole webinar around this particular program talking about why networking was so important. And, number one key skill to find your passion is to build a great network and get that help, that mental support, and those new ideas. And so I offered this webinar for free. People attended, and then I offered the Networking Masterclass. It made sense. It opened the door for the Networking Masterclass. I had educated them on why networking was so important. They got a taste of me.
Yummy.
And it started to generate real income. I hit my target with the new launch of the Networking Masterclass, which was a huge relief. And more importantly, I began to automate everything since this was an evergreen program. I started to automate the webinar, I automated the emails and everything else so I could sell this program every single month. And that's what I did. The Networking Masterclass began generating thousands of dollars every month, in addition to all of my other offerings. So in the end, the story has a happy ending. I did end up making much more money than I ever expected, and it's not bad for something that started off as a bit of a random idea. It really pays to test your ideas and, of course, be willing to learn from them. I want to close out this episode with some quick takeaways to help you in your business and cement your learning. As always, these takeaways are brought to us first and foremost by the Coach Pony free marketing masterclass. So if you need help finding clients, come to coachpony.com/marketing, and also by chocolate, because sometimes you just need a little something sweet in your life. And today, our quick takeaways are brought to us by Galère bars. It's another type of Belgian chocolate. I call Galère grocery store chocolate, which is not meant to be an insult in any way, but you can buy Galère bars in grocery stores in Europe, and they are amazing. So rich, so chocolatey, so good. Once you go Galère, you won't go back. So thank you, chocolate, for making my life better. And with that, let's get to the quick takeaways. Takeaway number 1, every single coach has tried and failed at many offerings and ideas. So it's not about avoiding failure as a coach. It's about what you do when it happens to you. How are you going to reflect, learn, and make progress moving forwards? Lesson 2. Knowing your audience is always important, but sometimes you can't predict exactly what they'll go for. If you want to make your life a little easier, don't be afraid to test your product idea before you fully commit to building it. Do it for free for a small group or set a low price to see if people buy it and show up. You'll learn a lot from working with a live group, and you can take those lessons to your program. Takeaway 3. And to build on my first point, please keep going and keep learning. Rome wasn't built in a day, and your online program and the rest of your business won't be either. So every problem is an opportunity. Keep that mindset, and if you do that, you are going to get there. And my absolutely final lesson for you today is that it's important to know how to market your do-it-yourself program so that you get that amazing passive income. And if you're wondering what the best way to market your business is, please don't fret. We've got an amazing free training to help you. Come on over to coachpony.com/marketing to learn how to find paying clients for your business and your next online program. And when you do, you'll get access to a completely free in-depth training called the Marketing Masterclass, which will save you time and tears. You can find it at coachpony.com/marketing. And in the meantime, I will see you in the next episode of this podcast, where we'll be taking a much closer look at how to write a book as a coach and become known as an author. So if you're interested in that, hit subscribe on this podcast so that you don't miss out. And with that, I'll see you next time.